Just hours ago, the former president pleaded not guilty to all 37 federal charges after turning himself in to the Miami federal courthouse. Now, hundreds of his supporters took to the streets outside the courthouse. Some even prayed for Trump at a cafe that he arbitrarily stopped at as he left the courthouse. Seemed kind of relaxed. Now, the Justice Department is alleging, in case you've been in a cave, that the former president mishandled classified documents that included U.S. defense and weapons secrets and even an attack plan on an unnamed foreign power, fill in Iran. 31 of the charges violate a law called the Espionage Act. Now, whatever you think of Donald Trump's actions, let's put this all into context. The Espionage Act is over 100 years old. President Woodrow Wilson signed this into law to protect the nation from foreign spies during World War I. Now, most prosecutions involving the Espionage Act have been reserved for actual spies like Julius and Ethel Rosenberg. They spied for the Soviet Union, and we executed them. That's what it was for. Now, even Trump's worst critics are not alleging that he passed classified material to our enemies, Russia or China or anybody else. The Espionage Act makes clear that espionage is defined as this. It is information, quote, to be used to the injury of the United States or the advantage of any foreign nation. Trump didn't do any of that. He is not a traitor. I think you can agree with that. But a new interpretation of this act seemingly emerged just a few days ago. Actually, a few years ago, to be accurate, during the Obama years. Most of the prosecuted cases during the Obama's time have not involved traditional spies. Instead, they dealt with government officials who withheld classified information or leaked it to the press. That's very different than Woodrow Wilson, don't you think? Then there's the debate over what truly is a classified document. Now, according to the New York Times, Jesse's mom really likes that newspaper. I watched the show yesterday. Many experts believe the government has, quote, too many documents that are classified in the first place. The government actually classifies more than 50 million documents a year. Estimates that's 5 to 10% of those actually warrant classification if you were to review them, but we've never reviewed them. We just classify them and salt them away. Now, regardless of what you think of Trump's actions, he is not the first U.S. government official to retain documents of importance. Factor in Hillary Clinton. She sent and received classified mail on a private email server for all the talk about Trump being reckless and storing documents near a bathroom, in a bathroom. Clinton did the exact same thing. Her private email server was in a bathroom closet at the Colorado apartment of the IT firm that she contracted. Trump is also being accused of obstructing justice. Okay, let's take that on. Something Clinton is all too familiar with. While the use of her private email server was under investigation, the FBI found that a senior aide named you probably don't remember this, Justin Cooper, destroyed several of Clinton's old cell phones with a hammer by, quote, breaking them in half or hitting them with a hammer, close quote. Clinton's IT guy, his name is Brian Pagliano. He got subpoenaed. He ignored the subpoena. Is he in jail? I don't think so. Remind me to check Rikers. Of course, you'll remember when Clinton was indicted and forced to turn herself in to the federal courthouse for her actions. Let's take a look at the footage. Oh, wait a second. We don't have it because it never happened. Unlike Donald Trump, Clinton was never charged with a crime. But you heard me. She did the exact same thing and was never president. Neither was former FBI Director James Comey. After he was fired, Comey released classified material about his interactions with Trump, but was never charged. He admitted it, too. Now, he was embraced by the media. He was rewarded with a multi-million-dollar book deal. He actually wrote a novel that no one's going to read. Showtime did a movie about him. They call it the Comey Rule. I know. I didn't watch it either. And he's tall. Another leaker who got off scot-free is former FBI Director Andy McCabe. He's a disgrace. In the lead-up to the 2016 election, McCabe, who was deputy director of the FBI, think about this, leaked information about the DOJ's active investigation into the Clinton Foundation to a Wall Street Journal reporter. Now, prosecutors dropped the case and declined to charge McCabe. Even though he lied about leaking, which is a crime, McCabe was rewarded with a lucrative, we understand, CNN contributorship. Lately, we see him all the time on CNN talking about, drumroll please, Donald Trump leaking. Now, what's the point? The point is, you can acknowledge that mishandling and leaking classified material, like Donald Trump's been accused of doing, is wrong. We think it's wrong, but the fact is the practice seems to be routine, and that's sad. Just the last week, for example, remember the story? An anonymous government official leaked classified information about a Chinese spy base operating in Cuba. But these leakers were never charged with crimes. In fact, no one's even looking for them. The media and the Washington bureaucracy only care about mishandling classified material if it interferes with their agenda, it seems. They cheer if their enemies are selectively prosecuted, and they run for cover when their allies are equally guilty.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.